All right, well, how are we doing, Mr. Robinson?
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, first off, for taking the time to let me do this. I know your time is valuable, so I'm appreciative of it, so thank you. I'm going to start with a bunch of praise, and there's just a lot of praise to give, honestly. You've made really drastic, intentional improvements this year, just kind of throughout, and so I kind of wanted to stop there. Are you feeling that you've improved throughout this school year, and what has gone into that?
Just yes,
Okay.
to answer, yes. I'm feeling much better right now at this point in the year, probably ever within my relatively long career
Okay.
with this. And a lot of it, just noticing the things that I need to do to make sure that everyone is on board with what we're doing
Okay.
in class, right? So it is just me being intentional and actually, the book that you focused by Schmoker?
Yeah, I do that. Yeah.
Give me his name. I actually felt better about myself because it was just applying, interactive lecture. That's what I've been trying to do, is
Right.
something to that effect, because I just have a lot of content to cover within this class. It is a lot. Right? Just doing what I can on a day-to-day basis to eyes on this.
Right.
That's going to help them, and being intentional with formative assessment within the lecture, and also just check for understanding and any sort of DOL necessary. Seeing it in writing, especially how to demonstrate to me how you actually know what you're talking about.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's what I need to see to know that I've been successful with what I've done.
Right. Yeah, as opposed to just kind of assuming things went well and they feel well, having that. So I kind of want to start with your PowerPoints. I think maybe that's the thing that's come the furthest, maybe even since the start of the year, right? Like you're hyper-organized in your PowerPoints. They're professional looking, and the kids, to me, that makes a big difference, right? Every part is just as it should be. Just kind of throughout the lessons, and again with the PowerPoint, I'm noticing a lot less just plain text, more visuals, even working in videos. We call it dual coding, super important, right? I'm going to come back to this later because I think there's an additional opportunity, but I love that image of, and that's of slums all around, that like kind of gated, wealthy, yeah. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the thing. Yeah, you probably can. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just absolutely such a visceral kind of experience with that. Mm-hmm. And I saw the kids just staring at that and taking that in, wondering how a thing like that could exist, which kind of grounds into just the haves and have-nots.
Right. Go through that.
Making those emotional connections to the material is what helps them remember. Like we don't always remember what people say, what's the old saying, but we remember how they make us feel, right? And so images like this. I'm going to jump into like a possible upgrade and then kind of jump back to praise just because we have it up here. But so in general, right, and again, you did a great job of engagement throughout. It's still a long lecture, right? And so breaking that up with some student activities that don't have to be very long, even like 5 minutes. You can go longer than that, just so it kind of gives you a little bit of a break too, to kind of rethink, organize, but also gives them a break so when they come back they're going to be a little bit more dialed in. I think here, an idea I had was maybe we split the room in half, and this side you are writing first person diary entry, and you are like in the slums, right? And you are seeing this and what you feel, what is that like, what does it make you feel about yourself, about them. The other side is writing from the wealthy perspective, and they are looking into those slums from their high rises. What do they think? Or is it, and you're going to get, I think, all kinds of responses. It's not really the point, right? The point is like just trying to feel, what would you, I imagine you could get like some,
putting yourself in their shoes, and you're developing just this empathy that's not always encouraged everywhere as well.
Exactly. So our kids are going to be more empathetic as the wealthy people, and I can't imagine those wealthy people, if they were really, really that empathetic, that they couldn't live there, right? You couldn't see that every day. But just as an example, But that could be like a little, I don't even know, 5, 6, 7 minutes.
Just have some lined paper of some sort for them to write on, but no, and I do agree with an activity like that, for sure. The general basis is fantastic for this subject, for sure. And, any time that we're looking at some sort of dichotomy of some sort, we can always do something like that.
Yeah, I think so. And again, just as much writing as we need to do, kind of all hands on deck to try to get that star score at the sophomore level so they can travel, and then preparing them for that like English 1301, 1302, 2302, like this. As much writing as possible is just kind of the rising tide of lifting boats. But anyway, absolutely love that image. So your control is the other thing of the environment that you are confident and you are in control. And if it ever started to slip, you were pulling it back, right? There is always room to improve that. No teacher is ever perfect at that. And so we're going to work on that a little bit today. But like your calm and your confidence goes a long way to keeping everybody engaged. Kind of last thing here on just kind of some of the praises. You're used to do a lot of public CFUs and just wait for hands and things like that, and you're instituting a lot more cold calling, and it's become normed. Have you noticed just kind of a difference in student responses since you've kind of made that shift?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they know they're going to have to do something.
Right.
And not every day is going to be an easy day.
Right. That accountability, right, to the material. Okay, so normally I wouldn't go through this laundry list thing since we don't get to do this as often, and these are just kind of small little bite-sized, I think, upgrades before we get to kind of do the thing. But do you have a PowerPoint clicker?
No.
Okay, so this is going to change your life, all right, because I noticed that whenever you have to change slide, you're tethered to this thing, right? The ability to have this little clicker to be able to move forward and back just kind of releases you from that leash. And so highly recommend that for the freedom of movement. You're also, our kids, but you're stopping, right? And you're turning your back, and then you're coming back, right? And this is avoidable, it's easy. I don't fall in love with it.
That class of 30, they're actually a pretty good class.
Yeah, they are. They're incredible.
Because I have smaller classes that require more, not discipline per se, but just like, what are you doing?
Right, just more resets.
So I've lucked out with my 30 class being as good as they are, just from we're here to learn.
And even smaller classes sometimes can present more challenges sometimes in larger classes, all the kids for one, but getting off the rails, but even like if you've ever had a class of like 7 or 8, it's kind of awkward. It's hard to know how to manage that. It's like a different thing. But anyways, that's one. So our images and videos, this is a great example of one done correctly. It's high resolution. You can see exactly what's going on anywhere in the class. There's some other moments where I think you were trying to they were a little too small, or the resolution, and some of the kids couldn't really tell what was going on in the images, right? And so just being aware that you're better off going full screen like that, or maybe just two that are juxtaposed, something like that, and you can, I love what you've done there with putting the text over it. I think that's just kind of an exemplar of how to do it. So again, these are tiny little things. Chunking and simplifying your PowerPoint, right? This is where you go back to the one I kind of made the shift on. Okay. Oh, no, there it is. I'm walking over to the computer that's right in front of you. Put all the information up. It's kind of where you had it, right? And so, we kind of went over this, but the idea is if there's too much information on the slide and release it all at once, the students read through. You're talking about megacities, they're reading the bottom point, and so it's kind of.
It is a distraction, all this information at once, because all they are required to write are the first 2 bullet points here on the notes.
Well, I think that in that case, again, for simplicity's sake, if maybe your script looks different than theirs, and you can talk about those things, give some examples, and maybe that's just in your speech, and the only thing is actually the first 2, that's up to you. depending on what you want to do. Yeah, typically for PowerPoints, I think this is a style thing. The way I would do it is I would very rarely have, unless they need you to write it down, like complete sentences. It would more like be a blurb or something just to remind me what I'm saying about it. But again, like some people, there's not a wrong way to do it. Just the idea is that whatever you're talking about is like kind of front and center on the screen, and that is kind of the scaffold or the anchor to it. Okay, so.
Because the final point there is either scaffolding or just leading into the next point, which is, what does growth look like in developing countries? Because that's going to be the next slide.
Right, and so that can be just something that you release, like just verbally. You could have it on its own, like kind of blown up slide with another image or not, right? So that's the idea, just being focused and really limiting the amount of information that is ever up there at one time.
Definitely, for sure.
Yes, for sure, ninth grade, very distractible humans. Okay, so we already kind of talked about this, breaking up a sustained lecture, some sort of creative writing activity, is what videos do me. Just whatever it is, being mindful and being planned, that like 15 minutes is probably about as long as you want to go on any sustained part before you release some activity, even if it's not useful. It is useful to remove them from the lecture and then they go back, their attention span is reset. This is just another, again, very specific to this lesson upgrade. And when I really like the time release expansion that you showed of Houston and how it was just kind of growing out, just terrifying and visceral. But again, I think an opportunity to make a connection to, I was thinking about the Harvey floods.
Yeah, did I talk about it that last
Well, I only had, you may come back to it. I was only there for that first 45 minutes.
So I know, anecdotally, my sister lives in Houston and she was affected by Harvey.
Yeah.
When that happened a few years ago. She lives in like the far north part of Houston. I was just demonstrating to them, okay, even though like that's far away from the coast, like these cities that are developing so fast, they're not great at handling floods.
Right, and it's all that concrete over what used to be able to soak up water, and it just, so showing some of the videos of just like the houses that were completely, and there's some time lapse, there's some crazy visceral stuff to connect like your idea of what are the damaging aspects of this urban sprawl, how does it affect like, all those, whatever. Again, that's very bespoke to this lesson, but I think the idea is that, and I think I've just made this up, I just call it emotional linking. Like we're trying to connect their
emotion. No, that's fair. And that's why I would have included like the video in Makoko, Lagos, Nigeria.
Yeah, that was great. And that's exactly why you're doing it, and that is one of those points where you have everyone paying attention.
Right, because it's like one thing to say, what do you think this smells like, or what is this?
Right.
What's the general vibe you're getting here, right?
Yeah. Show
them a video of people living it.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. People actually moving around, and that you can put yourself in their shoes. And again, I was an English teacher forever, but I'm a sucker for a first-person diary to explore some trope or explore some idea. It can be just completely like released, like, hey, you're this person, just write. Or it's you have a couple guiding, cover these two things. So what does this feel like? What does this feel like? If you want to make sure you're getting a particular thing. But again, sometimes it's just breaking up the lecture. Just giving them a break, giving you a break. So it could be either one of those things.
Because this lesson I gave was really limited in those breaks, and realistically the only breaks were like the video or the check for understanding, formative assessment.
Yep. And so just kind of being mindful of that, like, you're never going to nail it absolutely. If you go 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, you never can nail your pacing all the time. But just kind of being mindful, not going, 25, 30 minutes at once. Because it's, especially for freshmen, it's hard. They can't, and you did a great job, they did a great job. But they were starting to flag, a little bit. Again, this is just very specific, right? I loved when you were pointing, right? When you had them point. Tiny little upgrade. Have them hold it up too, just like you. Like they are looking just like you, and what that does is, that way, they are all the exemplar. Like when they're pointing, when it's on the desk, no one in there can like see what they're pointing to. So just have them hold it up as well. Easy little fix. Again, this is, okay, so those are just again some, and I'll give you a copy of this, some just like tiny little upgrades to the lesson. Again, the place you've made the most gains is engagement and maintaining engagement, right? And so, and I've told you this all the time, like the best content, the best delivery, the best lesson, if half the kids are paying attention, right, it's a disaster, nobody's learning. It might look good, but it ended up being just kind of a teacher performance, right? And so, again, you often had that 100%. There are times when the engagement will all, it just happens. This is kind of this probing question. So when you recognize that you're starting to lose some folks, how can you kind of pull it back? Or what are some ways to do it?
Highlights up here, I'm thinking that teacher position, right?
Okay, yeah, that formal pose.
Just usually that is me like the chest a little bit, okay, and I'm dead silent until all eyes. Okay, I love it, right? And so constantly being mindful of that, for sure. Your call to attentions were effective, but I think what was happening a couple times, and did it often, was you started to teach before you had quite everybody back. And those are like your key opportunities to really reset the room. You can get to 100% in those moments to where you're switching activities, whatever it is. And so we're just going to make sure that we have everybody, and there's no one right way to do this, right? But something I like to do is, it's kind of an old theater thing. I'm going to have everybody's eyes. I'm going to meet everybody's eyes. It can get a little weird, but you don't have to do it that way, but everyone has to be focused on you, right? And so, all right, so you were saying all eyes on me, right? Okay, so that is perfectly fine. You can give like a small countdown, okay, to kind of give them, and some teachers do a little bit longer, like countdown for 5, but it's kind of like you say like a trigger word, so you might say, all right, all eyes on me in 3 seconds. 3, 2, and 1. All eyes should be on me. Great job, Juan. Great job, Pablo. Maybe wrong Hispanic names. And if then, like maybe even like still waiting on 2 people, you don't want to make it personal, right? Like never yet, because that's severing that bond. But like that's a way to do just kind of an anonymous correction, right? Your corrections are anonymous, your praises are specific, right? One way to look at it. And then, okay, great job, right? And then you're coming back and then you reset that room. Does that kind of make sense? Yes. Okay. All right. Let me give it a shot. Kind of just did. I'll get up there and do it, and then we'll have you give a practice run. You're cool with that. Okay. All right. Awesome. So, all right. We have. Let's see. We could be transitioning from, let's say they've just done that creative writing activity, the timer has gone off. I might just say, okay, great job, guys. We're going to come back together in 3, 2, 1. All eyes should be on me. Great job. Juan is ready to learn. Lisa is ready to learn. Still waiting on a couple people. Great job. And great. Okay, now we're ready. We're moving that kind of right into it. I think the key thing is just getting to 100, however long it takes. Not like 5 seconds have passed and so we're moving on. It's up to them to get to the 100, right? Mm-hmm. Cool? Okay. All right. You want to jump up there and just give it a call? I know this works a lot better in PLC when you actually have teachers acting like students. A little awkward when it's one person, but yeah, give it a shot. Just run. Okay, timer is up. Let's bring our attention to me in 3, 2, 1. Okay, all eyes on me. All right, thank you, Juan. You're ready to learn. Jose, you're ready to learn. Cecilia, you're ready to learn. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Still have a couple people that I need their eyes. And we are good. All right.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Your calls to attention, more effective, the wait time, everything else, I think that was absolutely perfect. So we will move on to, all right, so just kind of the plan had other times to use this, right? Of course, coming back from any shift, but also setting that tone, and it's kind of weird in the, for first period, right? Because there's just a 25-minute leak in, and you've done a great job of like starting the timer, what is it, like 6 minutes before or something like that? Right, so you have kids that have been there 20 minutes and they do whatever they want, I guess, but like, okay, now we're starting class and the timer.
Especially that day, because they work bells that day as well, they definitely give the additional reminder that, okay.
Right, and UIL nonsense, right. Right, so that's really good, but like just positively narrating, getting them going on the do now, I mean, it works all the time. And throughout, just kind of building those relationships. Okay, so, all right, so, what are some of your lessons coming up? What is the kind of the next objective, or where are you in kind of your lesson cycle on?
Okay, so this is introducing the idea of urban sustainability. Okay. And the next lesson are the challenges to urban sustainability. Okay. So, thinking about it here, okay, so we listed these types of suburbs, okay, and a lot of these kids live in the area. And what I was trying to demonstrate to them is while they do live in an urban environment, well, technically, most of Dallas is actually suburban. Sure. Right, in its field. It's not actually urban. Only like downtown Dallas, maybe uptown, that's really the only truly urban area of Dallas, okay? So, what does this mean? This means that we are seeing this suburban growth, and this map kind of demonstrates that. Okay? It's like asking, okay, so where does most of the population actually live in this image? And of course, they're going to say this area, this area, this area, right? They understood that already.
It's a cool map. I like that. It really helps you understand.
Especially after introducing an excerpt, because I have no idea what an excerpt is.
Yeah, that's kind of a. I always thought that was like a political term, but it's a real thing.
Yeah. But the main thing that we're understanding is the sprawl. So what are the issues with sprawl? And the issues with sprawl are more people are driving, necessarily. More people are driving. And so that contributes to something like air pollution, water quality going down, things that are objectively going to harm you in the future if things do not change. Okay.
So it's kind of a dread to it then.
A little bit,
yeah. You're trying that, okay. Okay, cool.
And of course, that's not everything. Of course, folks are using resources as well, right? You just have to pivot to different resources, but if you want to sustain the current system that you're in, you may have to make changes. Okay. So, the challenges, what are the challenges of putting in more rail, okay? I talked about eminent domain with them, why it's kind of a prickly topic in Texas to add more rail, like folks are with their guns going to say something, maybe, okay? And then another example of helping with sustainability were solar panel farms. What's an issue with solar panel farms? Well, not very efficient energy-wise. They will take up a lot of space, and that could be space used for agricultural land for the increasing population. Right. So that's just some examples of what comes up in the next lesson. Okay,
I love it. I think like, to me, there was a sense of dread, and so trying to kind of connect that emotion to them thinking forward in some writing and things like that. I think just when you're playing those lessons, try to think of those little pockets that you can stick in, those little breaks. Ideally to move the ball forward, but if not that, just kind of giving people a break. Okay, so next week, when would be a good time to come in? Is there a particular lesson or a particular day? Or what's best?
Or maybe visit the same class again, the 5th period class.
I like that.
Tuesday or Thursday, yeah.
Okay. Tuesday or Thursday next week, and that is 5th period, right? Okay. Beautiful. All right, well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, Mr. Rob.
Thank you.
Let's hang on. See where we landed.